HR Success Talk has started its journey in 2012 with a vision to bring HR and business leaders together in a form of a community to share knowledge and learn from each other. Starting from a single blog, we reached our first initiative called Forum to give a bigger platform to HR professionals to collaborate with each other. Later, we realized that we need to connect our members in person along with online. Hence, we launched our vertical called HR String Meets, under which we organize HR conferences and meetups where we invite HR and business leaders to talk about best practices in HR and business in different industries. HR String Meets also became a platform for our members to network with each other. We continued and also launched our online assessment vertical, which helps professionals at different levels in their career to learn and get a certificate in a specified field in HR. These assessments and certifications help HR professionals to find jobs or advancement in their career. HR Success Talk has leveraged technology while building the community. Our YouTube channel is focused on providing online videos or diverse different topics for benefits of our members. We can find video study material on topics like talent acquisition, HR journalist, HR analytics, learning and development, labor laws, and many more. During pandemic, we launched our webinar vertical. Again, with the use of the technology, we continued our mission of sharing and learning from each other. We touched thousands of lives across the globe and shared knowledge which was meaningful for our members. In HR Success Talk, we believe in recognizing and appreciating the contribution of HR and business leaders in their field, which is equally important. Hence, we launched our award vertical to provide a platform to professionals to give an opportunity to showcase their contribution and get recognized for it. We believe in fairness and capability. Hence, our jury and selection process is built in such a way that it provides opportunity to those who really deserve it. HR Success Talk has a very good presence on multiple social media platforms and other communication channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Twitter. You can also visit our website www.hrsuccesstalk.com to read some interesting blog by our HR bloggers on trending topics and issues. We are a huge community with global presence in multiple countries and thousands members and growing every month. We provide a platform to our members where they can learn from each other, can share their knowledge, and knowledge for others' benefit, build relationships and networking, and leverage this networking in any way they feel like. We have so many stories where our volunteers have leveraged this platform to find jobs, get new business opportunities, find a mentor to guide. It is up to them how they wish to leverage and use our platform. And guess what? You don't have to pay a fees to be a member or fill any form. You can be a member by click of a button by liking our Facebook, LinkedIn page, or any other social media channel. Simple, isn't it? You must be wondering how we manage all this. Yes, you guessed it right. We have a force of highly talented volunteers who spend 3 to 5 hours every week of their time for this community. We also invest highly on the development of our volunteers and our HR team organize exclusive training sessions for them. Some of them have started as volunteer and today they are playing the leadership role in this community. If you also have the zeal and passion to serve the HR community and time to contribute, you can send your resume at info@hrsuccesstalk.com to be our volunteer. Our talent team will be in touch with you. For us, this is just a beginning. You can either choose to be part of the journey or watch it from a distance. Let's learn and share together.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. A warm welcome to our viewers on today's Ed series. I'm Nimisha Chatterjee, your host for today. We are live today globally on HR Success Talk social media pages, which is LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I would also like to extend our gratitude to our media partner, Benefico, which is an online guide for people managers and HR professionals, and Aapki Khabar, a leading news portal from India and voice of common people. Edge Talk by HR Success Talk is a fireside chat with eminent leaders to gain an enriching insight on the trending topic and learn from their experiences. We say experiential learning. And for today, we have the most loved and the favorite topic of all HR professionals and the emerging future leaders, that is total rewards. And to know more about total rewards, we have an amazing industry leader who likes to solve problems and build things. A subject expert with 14 plus rich experience, a seasoned compensation leader with experience of leading reward strategies of the organization across multiple locations and countries. He is currently based out at Netherlands. So let's welcome Amitabh Yadav.
Thank
Amitabh,
you. Thank you
thank
so much, Nisha, for the warm welcome.
Thank you. Amitabh is currently leading the Global Total Rewards and HR Excellence team of Centrinet Pharmaceutical, which is a part of a Bain Capital company. Prior to this, he was heading the Total Rewards function for Apotex India, which is a part of Canada-based Apotex group of companies. He has also been associated with Millen Laboratories, Cipla, Infosys, and TCS. So thank you, Amitabh, for joining us on Edge Talk series by HR Success Talk. And we would, and I'm sure our viewers would love to hear your career journey so far in the HR domain. Over to you, Amitabh.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nimisha. I really honored and humbled by the warm welcome by the HR Success Talk team. And I must thank with the professionalism, with the way they have organized the talk. Really, really impressed with how what you can achieve with the power of volunteers. So again, uh, I'm really, really looking forward to this session because I've always been the kind of person who loves to share what I know because I feel that through sharing you learn. There are people all across the world who know things which you don't know. Sometimes you know things they don't know, and that's how you become a better person, I would say, and a better professional. Uh, my leadership journey, and if I may take the liberty of going a bit off topic here, I'm a big Jagjit Singh fan. For a person who was brought up in northern part of India, the ghazals of Jagjit Singh has always been one of my favorites. And one of my favorite couplet from his ghazal, which was written by Nida Fazli, was अपनी मर्जी से कहाँ अपने सफर के हम हैं रुख हवाओं का जिधर का है उधर के हम हैं. Which is loosely translated as uh, I'm not on this journey out of my own volition. I'm just going where the wind blows. You know. I can claim that I planned all the steps, but I think we can. What last 3 years have taught us that planning isn't really working for anyone, right? No one. The world planned a lot and it didn't work. Uh, I'm an engineer. I worked with. I started my career with Tata Consultancy Services. I was a software engineer for 3 years, hardcore service industry, and after I think working for 3 years, and Tata Consultancy Services is part of the Tata Group, and also one of the biggest employers in those days. And what somehow I felt that and that could be, when I look in retrospect, the beliefs are what makes some decisions for you. I felt people really make a difference to the organization. The modern organizations are going to differentiate themselves, are going to better themselves by people. It's no longer you don't have the machines or the capital or money where that's going to make a difference between a good organization and a great organization. And hence I decided that I want to do an MBA in HR. I was quite clear about it, and very unlikely. I think people who are there in this session would have been tired to answer the question why HR, which never leaves an HR professional throughout their career journeys. I was asked this question too many times. I did my MBA, and then I think I started my career in compensation benefits with Infosys Limited. I was privileged to be part of its corporate team, which was looking after the compensation and benefits centrally for around 70 countries across the world. And for a fresh guy out of the an MBA college, my first assignment was a 100 MB Excel file, and I was supposed to audit that file. It was the annual increment file which was given, to the employees, and I was thrown. And that file was 100 MB and had 70,000 records, and I had no idea about Excel. So I think one of the things that people are always worried about rewards is, okay, do I know Excel? And I was the guy who didn't know Excel. I was thrown this file. So it took me, I think, a trial by fire to actually do that assignment in a week. And I think that was, I would say, the start of a long journey in compensation benefits for me, where I moved to a business conglomerate, Ryan Industry Limited, where I was part of their accelerated leadership program. And I was fortunate enough to work in diverse industries like manufacturing industry, share services industry, and also oil and gas industries. Now, all of these industries are diametrically opposite from an IT industry, which is a different model altogether. From then onwards, I have worked with Cipla, I worked with Mylan, Apotex, and now I'm currently in a global role with Central Pharmaceutical, where I'm leading the global rewards strategy for the company across 5 countries. And I also lead the digital transformation agenda for the HR function. It's been an amazing journey. I think I'm extremely fortunate to have been in the positions that I've been in. I have grown, I have learned, and I must thank the kind of peers that I worked with more than the bosses. They were also nice, but I really enjoyed the peers that I worked with, because I've always worked with people who are extremely bright, much brighter than me. And I think they have rubbed something off on me to keep on learning, keep on building. Uh, this is now my ninth year in the pharma industry. So I didn't plan to specialize into a pharma industry rewards expert, but somehow my career is sort of telling me to do that now. Uh, what my journey has been, if I say that, I've seen an entire cycle. Two or three times I've been fortunate enough to design a reward strategy from the scratch up, and driving the functional strategy of the company. For example, I've worked into the HR integration for few of the merger and acquisition deals. They did some amount of systems and policy designs, the incentive designs, short-term incentive, long-term incentive. uh, so overall, an entire gamut. But I would say it has been a journey that I'm extremely proud, and I think I'm extremely fortunate to be part of. And I hope what I discussed today can help the people who are listening to this talk, and they find it helpful.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Amitabh. It was indeed a great, amazing journey. And we definitely wish you best of luck and for your success and for your in the future endeavors also. And from your journey, what you shared, I just picked out, you mentioned, that people is what now is just making a difference, not about the technology. And that brings me to say that, the idea of total rewards approach in today's evolving works system is also shifting the focus from being the employee to the human being. All right, because I think money isn't everything, especially when it comes to choosing or keeping the job. Because sure, definitely, the offering competitive salaries will improve business ability to attract or retain the top talent. But compensation is just one of the many factors that many of the companies look forward, or that would make a company a great place to work. All right. So I would like to pose a question to our viewers, probably who are live with us, or who are watching, that just think of your own job search. Now, what would you look for in a new role if you were offered two identical job, right, with the same salary? So what would persuade you to take one role over the other? All right. And I am sure many of you would be thinking on, it could be on professional growth opportunities, or the employer sponsored healthcare benefits, or it could be the work life balance, etc. Right. So these are some of the options which we could think of if you are being offered two identical jobs with the same compensation. So let's get to hear from Amitabh on how to redefine your total rewards strategy to catalyze the attraction, the retention, and the employee engagement, and that could or that might win your company the best workplace award. So Amitabh, according to you, what do you feel is the power of total rewards for a successful business, and what is a message you would like to give for the emerging leaders?
Nimisha, that's quite a loaded question, I must say. Uh, See, I think everyone knows that we use total rewards, the rewards packaging of a company to attract, motivate, and retain people, right? And that's like the basic understanding of it. In my experience, however, the most important function of a rewards package, in the way you structure a rewards offering, is to align the efforts of the people, the engagement of the people, and also where are they moving with the direction of the company. You know, uh, just let me take an example. So there is a team member who has four people reporting to him, and it's very easy for a team member to direct the effort of the four people, because you can talk to them, you can guide them, and you can tell them what exactly are we moving towards. So team has a clear goal, and a team member can play that part of aligning the efforts of those four people, right? You move one level up. You talk about a leader of team leaders, and they might have four teams under them, still manageable, right? But just imagine, if you're talking about an organization of the size of 2,000 employees, 3,000 employees, 10,000 employees, and how does then CEO aligns the effort of the person on the ground with what he is hoping to move the company towards, and that's where I think is the most important function of a total rewards offering is for an organization. Companies use various things. So for example, uh, they use incentive structures. They can have short-term incentive, they can have a long-term incentive, um, and they can also have the way they approach. Let's say they hire people, what kind of people they hire, what kind of premium they give, what kind of talent they do, how much they differentiate performance. So there are all decision points, but eventually the idea is that CEO of a company, or a company, has five priorities for a day, or for a year, or 5 years, for example. How does the person on the ground and everyone in between is aware of the priorities of the company, and also making all the efforts that they can towards, so that we can keep on moving. Organization can be agile, and they can be extremely slow, like an elephant, right? So there are, I'm sure there are analogy you talk about, you think about an elephant which can dance, which but in the reality, that a change can be extremely difficult to implement. The change management itself is a huge topic for any HR professional, And I think it should be and it is a high priority for any CEO who's trying to make a change to the company. Rewards is no different, right? So you can create the fanciest of the incentive plan, but if people do not understand it, it would not help to drive what you want to drive. um, and I'll give you some examples here. So um, everything starts from the business, right? Your rewards offering is not, I mean, I must say that it is not so much decided by the employee that you're targeting to do, but it flows from the business that you have. There, let's say, take industries like generic pharma. Okay, now generic pharma is just to for people who do not know much about pharma industry. Now, pharma companies are two kinds. One is innovator firms, which have the patents, which have high margins, and they have exclusive right to manufacture a medicine, right? They invest a lot in R&D, and eventually then they have a period of roughly 5 to 7 years, then they have exclusive right to sell that medicine. Generic pharma are companies which are uh, taking the medicine which are outside of the patent, and now they manufacture it at the lowest price possible, and then they sell to the patient. Generic pharma is also, I would say, are an amazing thing to changing the world for the better, because if without generic pharma industry, people will not have access to affordable medicine, and that is a real game changer in the life expectancy of the world. Now, between the same industry, the two kind of players will have a very, very different rewards offering. The generic pharma players are going to talk about cost optimization first. Okay, they will always talk about how are they getting more and more ROI on the money that they're investing into their people, and that sort of defines it. Their the terms of results. So, for example, they would want to have annual visibility of the results and the payout, right? But when it comes to innovative pharma firm, which are talking about an R&D cycle of 15 to 20 years, they would have a incentive plan, or a incentive plan which is focusing on consistent performance over a long term, right? So that itself, the industry itself is changing the reward offering. And also, then the real game happens, and you go and you see how the market is playing, things like that. This can also change. And let me give you an example also, that one of the things that comes is, people think, how should I what should be my desired market positioning for my company? This is the role, and what should my desired market positioning? Again, the question is obviously the talent, the talent that you get in the market. But the other question is, what is your business? Can you really afford to pay in the top quartile for a talent if your business itself is low margin, right? Um, I will send some name, and based on my reading, Netflix is one of the companies that all of you would have heard of. Netflix categorically admits that they want to pay the top quartile to their talent, and there is a reason for it. 1% for them, and they have a comparatively, they have a huge platform with hundreds of millions of users, and their software team will always hire the best of the best of the software engineers, people who are, even I would say, the not just in the industry, but probably the best of the best. So where the people who are best of the best in Facebook, Amazons, or Microsoft or Googles of the world, Netflix will try to target those people, because they know that these people they're hiring, in terms of the business that they can get, a good team can simply mean maybe, another million user, right? And that itself can decide how much money they are willing to put on the table. Money is not, people don't want to talk about too much a lot in HR, I know, because the softer aspects are focused a lot, but in reality, that's how boards are looking at things. And to just sort of maybe, one of my personal experience has been that I was I was part of the pharma company, where we were thinking of selling off a manufacturing plant. You know, now when I say people are important, that's a reality for business. It's not someone that's an HR guy is saying. It's a reality that business also understands. Maybe 100 years back they didn't care that so much, but now it's a reality. We were looking for a manufacturing plant. We wanted to sell it off because it was not producing medicines which were in the right target segment. We were trying, it was a change in strategy of the company, and we were thinking of. But one of the challenges is that you want to sell off a plant, but you can't sell the machines. You need people who can run this plant in an efficient manner. And that was quite a challenge, because you can imagine that, that itself is going to determine the offers that a potential buyer might put on the table. It's one thing to buy a plant with land and machines, and it's another thing to buy an entire manufacturing plant with people, capable people who can run it well. And for us, that's the problem that we have to solve it from a rewards perspective. And we eventually decided that we have to have first a clear communication about the key people, who are the key people who are absolutely important, engage them very actively about the future plan of the company, and also put a clear incentive for them to stay with us till that sale actually happens, and stay beyond that as well. So this is a very, very clear example of how a rewards intervention can help in successful business operations, because it's a decision that cannot be realized until you make the right choices, both in terms of communication and reward strategy, right? So these are some of the examples. I think I will take a pause here and move to the next part of your question, which is another important thing, is which is about how would I want to advise for new leaders. Okay, first disclaimer, I'm also a new leader in this space. People in the CNB space have been working for 30 years. I know the two of my ex-bosses, one of my peers in a company, and one of my ex-boss. They have worked for 30 years, and it's not so uncommon to find people in this total reward space with such amount of high experience. So I'm also a new leader. What I'm sharing with you is just my best understanding. So please take it with a pinch of salt. Uh, First, I always say, get over the complex of CNB being a special function. It's not, right? It's as important or as unimportant as any other HR function or any other business function, right? Because sometimes I felt that people in the center of excellence is sitting in CNB, they feel that they are, because it's the numbers, the Excel sheets, and sometimes it's very easy. That temptation is real easy when people treat you like that. It's and so you can understand that this is just another function, and the focus is always on adding value, right? If you do not know, in your business, if you do not know where the money is coming from, you can never be a good rewards professional. Because at the end of the day, you are essentially, if I can use a analogy very liberally here, you are a portfolio manager, you know like a mutual fund. A mutual fund has a mutual fund manager. What you're doing is basically managing the people cost portfolio of the company. You are making those choices of where that money can be invested to deliver the maximum returns for the company. So unless you understand where the money is being made from, how it is being made from, how much is being made from, you can never be a good rewards professional. And that is absolutely important. Now, some are other advices I give, and these are, I would say, my practical understanding of things. Always be friends with your finance team. Okay. Because you will always have some dependency on your finance team. It's always good to have that connection with the finance team, because these processes are connected, right? What you do in rewards is eventually hitting the finance team, and they're doing the accounting, provisioning, etc. And it also helps that if you have some basic understanding of those processes. And last but not the least is work with your HR business partners, and don't become another problem for them. You know, uh, this happens a lot more often than I would, and I've seen that. HR business partners are your people who are on the front line, right? They are fighting the fight. They are holding the fort, and what they really don't need is another problem coming from one of their own peers in the function. So actively partner with them, understand what they're doing, and how can you best solve problems for them as a CMB person. And if you can do that, I think this is a really, really great start for you as a CMB person. And I think these are, for me, that would be good enough pointers to begin with. And I think over a period of time, be open to learn and course correct. So I will take a pause here. Maybe we can move to the next question. I hope this was useful.
Indeed, Amitabh, it was really, enriching experience, especially when you spoke about the experience, the performance, how it is aligned with the success of the business, the innovation, the people, and the priorities, which is, aligned for it. So those were amazing, and the suggestions which you have given, I think it goes for all the HR professionals. As you said, becoming a friends of finance. I think that's a
Yeah,
common,
exactly.
we becoming, and of course as a team we work together. So when you spoke about the priorities in the organization, aligning the goals, so I was just thinking from an HR business partner angle, right, about now coming over to the culture. Okay, now I think these days we are focusing more about the culture part, right? How could total rewards impact the organization culture, for designing the equality, parity, the fair opportunity, what we talk about? So how do you feel this could have an impact on the org culture?
And thank you, Nimisha. This is indeed one of these questions that comes to everyone's mind, right? Um, for me, I feel very strongly that the biggest factor to influence culture is the senior leadership. You know, it's the way the senior leadership behaves is going to set the cultural tone of the organization. And what total rewards can do, be an enabler of the good things, of the good part of the culture that they want to drive, and also ensure that it is a deterrent for poor behavior, and that both of these things are possible to be run through, I would say, total reward strategy. Whatever is said and done, but always keep an eye in, what reward, what behaviors, or what factors are being rewarded, that eventually get ingrained in the culture of the company. uh, there is a famous example of, and I think that US is always a clear example of executive compensation, and there are multiple case studies around the same thing. Arthur Anderson being, when there was the reward structure was in a way that they could, uh, they felt pressurized or incentivized to fudge up some results, and it was definitely a lack of ethical governance there in the reward structure itself. The question also comes, if organizations are thinking about, for example, if they talk about equality, equity, parity, or fair opportunities, what is organizations, are they making any concrete step, or are they just paying lip service? Everything is just lip service until there is rewards associated with it, or there is some amount of linkage there. Okay. For any professional organization, fairness needs to be at the core, at the heart of the reward strategy. It's not an option. If you have an aspiration as an organization to be considered seriously, to be valued highly by a potential candidate, by your own employees, the fairness has to be built into a reward strategy. How much clarity people have between what they do and what are the results or the consequences on the reward side, that determines the fairness perception for you. And I also think, the next piece which is getting, and this is a bit related to this, but not very directly, but the questions of organization culture, people are talking very much about executive compensation. So one of the questions which comes now, and you probably would have been aware of this conversation, is people are saying that the executive compensation is seeing the historical highs. Some numbers tells you that in 1980s the CEO pay was, I think, 50 to 60 times of the lowest paid person, and now that has gone to unreasonable multiples. And that's possible. That's possible, but that does not, to me, is really a problem. And I think it is very important that the executive compensation model are also linked to I would say clear criterias. They're also linked to some valid reasons, and not just, I would say, uh, incentivizing unnecessary risk taking, because that usually is a challenge. And if you don't have the right model, you know you will always have a problem of culture, because it starts from the top. The executive compensation, the way you incentivize, for example, let's say you have at the senior level, if the CEO pay is more determined based on stock options, for example, let's say 90% of the stock options is CEO pay is based on stock options. You would see that most of the CEO's action can be about movement of the stock. You know, they will always be geared towards appreciating the share price of the company, right? And not sometimes about improving the fundamentals of the company. And they can be two different things, and then that's about incentivizing uh, short-term risky behavior over long-term sustainable behavior. All these factors matter. I mean, if we get time in the discussion, I would definitely like to take a case study of Satya Nadella, the CEO, and how the numbers looks like. But we see, if we have more time, then it'll be a fun discussion to have, where we talk about million, billion, and trillion. It's always fun to talk about those numbers.
Great, great, Amitabh. I think that was a great example which you have given on how the rewards are having an impact on the leadership. It depends on how it is being strategized or designed, the compensation or the based on that, which you gave an example of stock options. Now, I think we have spoken about the culture. We have already spoken about how it is going to have an impact on the successful business. So I'm sure with every good part, there are also challenges, right? For every coin, it has got two sides. So what are the challenges of, with the rewards and compensation job, with a profile?
See, the biggest challenge that I've always seen as a CNB person, and I think I missed that sometimes, and that is also the reason I've also taken the opportunity of doing the HR business partner role whenever possible. Is that as a CNB person, sometimes you disconnected from the employees, because usually either you're talking to the leaders, you're talking to the managers, or most likely you're talking to your HR business partner. And that disconnect is probably not, I would say, a very very good sign or a good thing for a HR professional. Let's not forget that rewards professionals are also HR professionals. Okay, and if they do not stay in touch with the employees, they somehow will not get the pulse of the organization, which I think is the biggest challenge and the pitfall of being in CNB function for too long. So you have to be actively making efforts so that you don't fall into that trap. Uh, Also, one of the things that happens is that rewards professionals like us sometimes have this tendency to underestimate the softer part of the HR. For example, the talent management piece, the training and development piece, the organization development piece, the employee engagement. Because for us, in our mind sometimes, and that is very possible, we like to believe that money can solve every problem, and the reality is it doesn't. And that is also leading me to the pitfall is that, please remember that compensation is not going to solve every problem that you have, especially employee problems. The problems, in fact, in my opinion, the employee problems, usually compensation is a very very basic hygiene factor, especially unless you are dealing with a certain specific market situation where you have certain demand for a very niche skills, or you're trying to ramp up a business very quickly, you need people very very fast. Compensation usually is not the answer. So you have to dig a bit deep. Sometimes, there is a famous story, I think, if I remember, is like, there was a barber and he was asked to cut a tree, and he basically has that razor, because he thinks that if you have to cut something, you have to just use razor to cut everything, right? But that's not true. Every problem is different, and the tools that you use are dependent on that problem. Sometimes, as a CNB professional, you would realize that, I want to have this short-term incentive plan, I want to change this short-term incentive plan. Or sometimes I'm just obsessed about how I can have the snazziest of the employee stock options to solve my long-term retention problem. You know, we get focused too much over the tools, but rather than taking a step back and thinking a bit more about the problem to solve. You know, tools are at the very end. You know, one of my ex bosses, if I remember correctly, he used to say, "Don't jump to solution, think." You know, and that time of thinking, you know, it's like is very important for a CNV professional, because CNV has such a huge tool set. You know, you have this. You can do benchmarking, you can do incentive design, short term, long term, benefits restructuring. You know, you can do your if you want to do your job restructuring. If you want to do, everything is there. But the question is, are you talking about the tools or are you talking about the problems? And be very conscious of that as a CNB professional, that don't fall into the trap of obsessing over tool over the solution. And if you don't strike that balance, you'll find yourself a bit lost there sometimes.
Great. Thank you, Amitabh. I think that you've spoken about the covered about the challenges, because that's it's important to have a collaboration with your HR peers, and also to know about the various HR employee life cycle connect. Whether it's in terms of engagement, whether it is learning and development, and that's how you can create. If you fall on any of these places, that's what the challenging. It becomes a challenge for the comp and reward professionals. And I think most of you have anyways covered, but that was my next question on, what are the recommendation you can share for people who are aspiring for a career in compensation and total rewards?
Uh, so I think for me, one of the things that I always say, and I've seen this happening, and in fact, if you remember, I think Snigdha was there. Snigdha, he's also my one of my dear friends. She was there in the last talk about total rewards, and she mentioned her hesitation about numbers, right? So I always feel that I think the importance of being friendly with numbers is a bit exaggerated in total rewards. I say I always have a simple test. If you think you know numbers enough for to be in total rewards function, is if you know what is 5 into 7, and if you can think it's 35. If you know what is 7 into 7, it's 49. If you can do that maths in your head, you're good enough, right? Because one of the things that happens is that a lot of professions, and I think especially in India, I feel that somehow a female are not very encouraged to take mathematics. There's a lot of female I know, and extremely bright female talent. They have some hesitation around numbers, and I don't know how that start, but I've seen that happening. And they also hesitate to pursue a career in rewards simply because of this reason. Not that it doesn't attract them, but I feel that it should not stop you, because I think this basic smartness is there in every person who has gone through Indian schooling system, right? You will not pass your exams if you do not know this, right? So we know enough. Have that faith in yourself, and rest you can learn, because for rest, no CNB professional is doing the calculation himself or herself. They're always relying on Excel or online tools. You just need to learn that. So first, get over that hesitation of being afraid from numbers. It can also happen, some people coming from arts background, for example, or from a non-engineering background, also feel that there's this hesitance about number. But I must assure you that I know some of the best reward professionals I've met have come from non-engineering, non-mathematics background. So it's never about the numbers, and you should take a lot of courage from that fact when you want to pursue a career. I mean, the question should be, do you really want to have a career and get into that complexity of knowing the tools of the trade, right? Numbers will not stop you there, so don't worry there. um, I also feel that a basic understanding of of the CNB concepts can help. Talk to the people who are into this function. I'm sure any CNB professional will be more than happy to talk to you about your questions. And don't be afraid to ask questions which you don't understand, because I think someone has said, ask a question, you're stupid once. Don't ask a question, you're stupid forever. So I think keep that thing in mind, you want to explore a new area, you should be willing to ask question. You people who have spent CNB, spend a lot of time in CNB, even for I would say 15 years, they still are learning new things. So you're not doing anything that you should not be done. Don't hesitate. Um One of the things, and this is more of a practical advice rather than, I would say that if you're looking for a career in total rewards, one of the things I've realized, and that's it's more from what I've seen in for a lot of people there. It's always easier to move to total rewards in house. So make that move in house within the same company than trying for a job outside the company, moving from a non CNB background to CNB background. I think it's quite common sense, but that should help you to plan your next move if this is one of the areas that you want to explore. Uh, and with these two or three topics, if you have in mind, I think you should be okay. You're well set up. If you're not, and I wish you all the best. I think we need more and more rewards professional. And one good news, and I was reading some study yesterday. I think 60% of the rewards professional are women. So that is actually a surprise, because I think the common understanding is that rewards, even though HR is a female-dominated area, rewards is still remains a male-dominated area. So I think that study was quite an eye-opener when I was reading about it, and I think it's very encouraging, especially people who think that they have some hesitations about number. So I wish you all the best, and I'm looking forward to having more and more people taking this as as something that they want to explore.
Great, great. Thank you, Amitabh. And I'm sure I think you have broken the biggest myth of, compensation or rewards professionals having good with numbers or with the, technology or engineering background. Thank you so much. And considering the time, I would just wanted to have one quick question if you could just share, because we've spoken about people who are aspiring. So what are the resources would you recommend, for them to go and learn? And then probably for the in-depth study of rewards, and post that we can just audience question.
See, yeah, absolutely. So for me, one of the I think one good thing that has happened in last 3 4 years is that Aon has come up with very good quality certification. I personally done a long term incentive certification from Aon, and I'm getting absolutely no commission from them, but I think they're very good quality, and I would definitely recommend that for people who are interested to have a career in rewards. I think they can take it. There are some books by World at Work. It's possible to find them on Amazon or and order them, and it can be a good starting point. There is a book called Compensation by Milkovich, which is the Bible of the CNB professionals. But I think it's not very accessible for people to study on their own. Uh, I think with these things are there, and always try. I mean, I think sometimes you will be surprised what you can find on YouTube, by the way. So look at some of the videos you might find on YouTube, and that could be a good starting point for you. Um, People who want to become proficient in Excel, this is probably the most exciting time to learn anything in the history of the world. It's like if you want to learn something, there are websites like Coursera, Udemy. One particular YouTuber I would recommend is Leela Gharani. She makes Excel videos. She also have immense courses which are very useful for beginners in Excel. And if you can, she's very good with the way she explains, and gives a hands-on experience of Excel to give you the confidence of managing some of that piece yourself. A good starting point, and obviously keep reaching out to people who are actually in the CNB work to sort of help you more. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you, Amitabh, so much for sharing the resources, for your experience, and considering our time, I think we need to wind up. But whatever the questions we have got from the audience, we will definitely get the insights from Amitabh, and then we will revert to you on our LinkedIn page or social media page. You can just stay tuned. And so, once again, thank you, Amitabh, for being part of our show today and sharing your insights with us on terms of building the culture, having the impact on the culture, and for business leaders, and also for the aspirations. And we look forward for many rewards professionals and having a collaborative with in the organization, whether it with your peers, with finance, or any professional, any industry, any function. Let's have collaborated. And I'm sure our viewers also had an immense learning from your experience. A big thank you, Amitabh.
Thank you so much, Nimisha, and thank you, the HR Success team again. It was a pleasure to be part of this session.
Thank you. A big thank you to our viewers as well, who and also to our media partners, Benefico and Aapki Cover. I would also to thank our great Edge team because of which this has been possible. So a great thank you to all our Edge team who has made these episodes, and also to Govind for building a wonderful community of HR Success Talk. It's a proud feeling for me being associated with HR Success Talk. And so have a great weekend. Thank you and take care. Signing off today and see you all for the next episode of Ed Series.